Alright, so not too long ago of making this video, the final episode of DISVENTURE Camp Season 4 released to the public, and to say this finale is controversial would be an understatement, as a lot of people are not too happy about the finale, particularly who won. I mean, just look at the dislike ratio on this episode and compare it to the previous episode and you will see the difference. Granted, the dislike extension tool isn't all that accurate, but it still gives a rough picture. And because of these factors, I feel like now would be the perfect time to do my review, going into detail about the finale and my thoughts on it. Now, I won't be able to cover everything that happens in episode 26, but given how this is the finale to one of the best seasons in the entire show, I'm going to try to do my best to give this episode the review it deserves. So buckle up as I am about to do my final review for Season 4, going everything that I at least find interesting or worth noting in episode 26. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Anyways, let's just dive into it. I'm first going to be covering the opening scene of the episode, which happens after the aftermath of episode 25, which has Anastasia crying after her losing the jury vote and being comforted by Marisa, and in my opinion this scene was pretty sweet, and I do feel bad for Anna here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not her biggest fan anymore, but I'm keeping it a buck. If I lost out on a chance to win out on $1 million by one vote, in a jury vote of all things, I would be bawling my eyes out too. Anyways, I'm not really going to dwell on this science too much for the sake of time, so I'll just say that I liked it and I think it was a nice way to wrap up Anastasia's character before Season 5. Anyways, moving on to the next scene with Logan and Jade at the beach, which in my opinion was pretty solid. Even though this isn't my favorite dynamic from the season, I really like what they did with these two in the past few episodes, as their scenes together can be really nice, and this one is no exception. And I like how they didn't drag on the drama they had from episode 25 in this episode just to have them bickering during the finale to create the illusion of conflict, and instead settled it in this scene, which was a pretty good decision and subversion of expectations. Jade owning up to her mistakes was really nice to see, and the follow-up scene of them both agreeing to not hold back in the challenge was also good. Anyways, moving on to the actual finale portion of this episode, and in my opinion it was a mixed bag in some cases, but overall pretty decent to watch. First off, going on to who was rooting for who each episode, and the helper bleachers seem fairly accurate. I do feel like Emily probably should have been rooting for Jade though. Also, why is Linda rooting for Logan? I get that she and Jade didn't have all that kind interactions based on what happened in episode 2, but based on how her and Logan last interacted or left off, and given the fact that Logan was a catalyst for Linda getting out in episode 10, I see zero reason for why she wants him to win. But this is just me being nitpicky, and it doesn't really affect the episode in any significant way. Also, the follow-up scene with everybody on the bleachers and Isabel rooting and chanting for Jade was really funny, and unlike in All Stars wasn't cringe, and Spencer's reaction here were also funny. Also, Alessio intensely describing Logan was also funny. This is why Alessio should have returned for Season 5, as I refuse to believe a character as cool or as entertaining as him should only be cemented as a first boot for the rest of history. That is just wrong. But anyways, moving on to the final challenge, in my opinion it was pretty decent. Granted, it's a tad bit underwhelming for a final challenge, and it wasn't a hype as I personally would have wanted, but it got the job done. And for the helpers, I think they were pretty decent additions to this episode, and they boosted it in a positive way. I obviously like Natalia, and I think her dynamic with Logan is really cool, and I feel the same way about Isabel and Jade, so them being helpers for this episode was cool. Anyways, moving on to the first part of the challenge, Arca, the maze section, in my opinion it was fine. It's not really all that interesting and nothing too mind-blowing happens, but it does a pretty good job setting the tone for the challenge. Plus, it's nice to see Isabel and Jade working together, and their strategy against Logan was pretty smart. And the follow-up scene where Isabel starts GTA driving and crashing into multiple things was absolutely hilarious. And Jade tweaking in the background while Isabel had the biggest smile on her face was easily the funniest sequence in the episode in my opinion. And the follow-up scene with Sable and Jade having a heart-to-heart was really sweet, and it definitely makes sense for Jade to be feeling this way after the events that just transpired. Although this was probably a very stupid move on Isabel's part, as Natalya and Logan immediately jump scared and got a head up on them. Like Isabel, there's $1 million on the line here, save this conversation for later LMAO. Overall, this part of the challenge was fine, but it kind of speaks to the main problem I have with this episode's challenge, is that it's just not that engaging as the other finales. Like, say what you want about All Stars, but at least its finale was more entertaining and more engaging than this season, unlike season 4, which is just kind of boring up until the last 5 or so minutes. Anyways, moving on to the slide scene with Natalya and Logan, which is kind of a mixed bag. Now, I do understand why Logan is acting like this. I mean, hey, if I almost drowned, I would also be tweaking around any type of water as well, but the way he just kinda starts rambling for like the 5th time this season has kinda gotten tiresome. Luckily, Natalya, being the queen she is, almost snaps him out of it, and doing what Alf of the fandom probably wanted to do to Logan for the last few episodes, and proceeds to slap him, which was pretty funny. And I'm glad Natalya said what she said to Logan. Also, on a side note, the animation on these scenes were pretty cool and noticeably better than the scene Jade got just a few minutes prior. I am not sure if this is on purpose or not, but it's something I noticed while rewatching the episode for this video. Also, this scene with Natalya on the boat referencing Sabrina Carpenter was absolutely hilarious. Anyways, moving on to the final scene of the episode, which sees Jade and Logan racing towards the finish line. First off, we can already tell that this part of the challenge were very clearly designed by Derek and Trevor, because why the fuck are the elephants just being allowed to roam free? These two have clearly not learned their lesson from season 1, but that's besides the point. Anyways, back on topic, the last scene overall was pretty good. It had good background music, decent animation, and overall a really hectic feel to it, but that's not the part anybody cares about. What everybody cares about is this scene where Logan beats Jade and wins the season, and I have a lot to say about it. First off, I'm going to go over the way how Logan wins before I get into how I feel about it. And the way Logan wins is kinda stupid for a few reasons. The first reason is that if we're being realistic here, Logan planting a goddamn coconut on the brakes should not be enough to keep his car moving. Yes, coconuts are relatively durable, but they are not durable for him to be pulling off this. And the second reason why Logan winning is a bit stupid is because he technically didn't meet the requirement to win. As Emily explicitly states earlier in the episode that the contestants had to present the Menorchian to her to win, Logan did not do that. He merely dropped it onto the ground and started rolling. But now it's time to get to my thoughts on Logan winning. And if I'm being honest, I just don't care. Like, I didn't want Logan to win, and I would have preferred Jade winning any day of the week, but Logan winning doesn't really upset me, but it doesn't make me happy either, for some reason. I'm more disappointed that Jade didn't win than I am angry that Logan is the winner. Now I am a pretty small minority, as majority of Twitter and the fandom, to put it nicely, hates Logan winning, and I can understand why. Logan has been pretty annoying for the past few episodes. Majority of the fandom wanted Jade to win. And the fact that he's been flip-flopping the entire season, yet still gets rewarded with a win, definitely isn't a good resolution, and I just don't see why Odd Nation cartoons would die on this hill. Odd Nation cartoons knew that Logan was hated, knew that majority of the fandom wasn't rooting for him, and knew that if they made him win, it would probably not end well. And now because of this, a lot of people in the fandom are leaving the fandom and will no longer be supporting the show, which sucks. A good example of this is how badly the Pattern member count crashed after the finale. Granted, not all of this is people leaving due to Logan winning, but it's still a huge amount of cancellations. And it just sucks because all of this could very easily been avoided if Odd Nation cartoons prioritized making an ending that would be narratively satisfying over an ending that they knew would be controversial and would piss off majority of the fandom. I have a lot to say on this topic, but I think it's best to save it for another video, so I'll just make my point really quick. Logan's win is really disappointing, not because he won, but because of the aftermath and effects of it. This has put a really bad taste in people's mouth, and this is going to haunt the reputation of Season 4 for the foreseeable future. And if there's one thing I will say is that we would almost certainly would not be dealing with this drama, chaos, and all the other shit that's going on in the fandom if Jade won, or at least got a better ending to her character than she did. I really hope that after All Stars that Odd Nation cartoons would do better with their finales and not make another ending that leaves majority of the fandom being disappointed and angry, but they have failed INDOing that this time around and it sucks. Anyways, moving on to the final scene of this episode. Well, final scenes is there's multiple things going on. First off, I'm going to be going over the one scene that I dislike, which is the sense between Logan and Zed as it comes the fuck out of nowhere. What was the point of having Zed rude against Logan and making him have all this beef with Logan if he just forgives him immediately after he wins? And the worst part is that Logan didn't even apologize for what he did to Zed. I would have understand this scene if Logan at least gave an apology, but because he didn't, and because this scene literally comes out of nowhere, it just feels really forced. Anyways, moving on to the scenes of this episode that I actually like. The scene with Anarissa is really sweet, and I like it a lot. And it serves as a good closing chapter to their relationship, at least for now. The scene with Jade, Isabel, and Spencer was pretty bittersweet. I am still really sad Jade lost, but I do like that she at least had two close friendships she made as a result of the season. And the follow-up scene with the Ted, Linda, and Richard trio was also nice. Kind of sucks that Ted keeps getting shafted, but Odd Nation cartoons have made it clear that they just don't care about him anymore, so I'm not surprised. And that Alessio continues to be a peak ship as always, and this is once again why Alessio should have been in Season 5 if Alessio is not in Season 6. I am going to boycott Odd Nation cartoons and nobody will be able to stop me. Also, the sense with Diego and Hannah was cool, I guess. Anyways, I'm now going to be moving on to the two major scenes of this section, Tringy and Zyvi. I am going to be going over Tringy first because I have less to say here. And I'm just in general happy that this ship is now canon, and seeing Benji tripping over his own feet in trying to confess to Tristan was both really funny, but also extremely in character, and I'm just really glad that Odd Nation Cartoons was able to write this ship and make it work. Sad that we're not going to see it again for a long time due to Tristan not being in Season 5, but at least they got a happy ending. And the scene with Zed and Ivy was sweet, but also pretty realistic. I really like how they didn't try to go with the sunshine and rainbows ending for them, and instead went with a more realistic approach, with Ivy worrying about their future due to her personal problems, and just in general, everything that comes with being a public figure and being in a relationship. Yet Zed does his best to calm her down, and while he doesn't dismiss her feelings or fears, he tries to get her to look past them and to at least try it, which was a really sweet scene, and I'm really impressed at the way Odd Nation Cartoons took to writing and handling Zyvi this season, and this is why they are my favorite ship from DISVENTURE CAMP Season 4. Also, the scene with Emily and Amelie is pretty interesting. It's not necessarily confirmed what this means, but my personal prediction is that Emily is either going to be a CO host or staff member for Season 5, and this would explain why Emily was taking some of her ideas and why Emily is the only Season 4 character to stay behind. Also, am I the only one who saw this scene where they announced there's going to be returning contestants for Season 5? Kind of pointless. Like, I get what they were going for, but considering that we already know who's returning for Season 5, all of the hype behind this announcement is just kind of lost. I feel like if the Season 4 fan favorites weren't confirmed until Season 4 ended, this would hit harder, but because that isn't the case, it just kind of falls flat. Anyways, the final scene with everybody leaving is pretty heartwarming, and the shot of the entire carnival going dark as all of the cameras and lights are set off is pretty cathartic, in my opinion. And that is the end of DISVENTURE CAMP Season 4. What a ride. I've been here from start to finish, and the community has witnessed a lot of highs and a lot of low points from this season over the past year, but even with some of the bad choices, I still think Season 4 is overall a very good season. The season has a lot of flaws. It has a really big problem with balancing itself. Some of the moments are a bit too heavy-handed and dramatic, and it sometimes feels like there's two stories trying to be told at once, which can cause the season to feel messy in some instances. And some of the eliminations aren't handled as good as they could have been, and with the season not having that good of a winner, and it being a very controversial winner that is going to taint the season's reputation. But even with that, I still believe Season 4 is a good season overall for a number of reasons. The animation and voice quality are at the best they've ever been. A lot of the stories and plots that Season 4 tells are good when when they hit, and the season has some of the most iconic episodes of all of time, some of the best character dynamics, some of the strongest challenges and unique twists that have made this season really interesting to watch. The cast is amazing and there is no bad characters within it, and the season overall has a wonderful theme. I've seen a lot of comparisons between Season 4 and Season 1, and we will probably be debating for a while now which season is better. And in my opinion, if Season 4 lived up to the hype that everybody had after some of the episodes like episode 19,611 and others, then it would undoubtedly be the series' strongest. But Season 1 wins out overall due to how perfectly it balances pretty much everything when it comes to its tone, its eliminations, and its overall quality. But even with that, I still believe Season 4 is an enjoyable watch and comes in a very close second place. Anyways, let's just get to the conclusion of this video. Episode 26 of DISVENTURE CAMP Season 4 is a good episode. It has a lot of decent moments and good character dynamics, and it gives most of the cast a good ending. However, the episode has a lot of issues with some of its writing decisions, and its winner choice is unfortunately going to haunt the episode's reputation for the foreseeable future. Overall though, if I had to rank the episode out of 10, I would probably give it about a 7.5, and if I had to rank the season overall, I would give Season 4 a 9 out of 10. Anyways, that is all I got. Thank you all for watching my videos on Season 4. Whether you're new to the channel or if you have been watching them since I started, your support means a lot. And to Jared and Robert, thank you for creating this amazing show. Anyways, that's about all I got, and I'll catch you all in my next video hopefully tomorrow. Peace out, take care, bye bye.